So you clicked on this video because you like coffee and you want to know how to make cold brew coffee. But what is cold brew coffee and why would you want to make it? Well, essentially when you make hot coffee in the morning with like a pour over coffee or just a traditional drip coffee, that hot water is going to release a lot more acidity from your coffee beans. And essentially what we're going to do with cold brew, or the goal behind it, is to slowly release the flavors from the coffee over an extended period of time with very cold water in your refrigerator, and it's ultimately going to get rid of pretty much all of that acidity but keep all of those nice coffee flavors that we all know and love. And it has a much higher caffeine content than just normal coffee, which is always a bonus in my opinion. Alright, let's dive into making this ultra smooth cold brew coffee. Any good coffee starts with, well, good coffee. So today I'm going to be using Counterculture Coffee, which is a local brand that is near my city, and they are a sustainable coffee brand that I highly recommend. And I'm not sponsored by them, I just really recommend their product. So use whole bean coffee for maximum flavor and be sure you use filtered water. Alright, so the first step to this is to measure out 1.5 cups of coffee beans. So we're just going to measure these out. I'm going to pour them into a bowl and then we're going to grind these up. But be sure you get a nice level even scoop of coffee beans here. In my opinion, you should be using whole bean coffees here because any coffee that is made with whole bean coffee is going to have a much better flavor than the pre-ground stuff. And the reason for that is because, well, all of the inside of these coffee beans haven't been exposed to air like pre-ground coffee has, and a good comparison is fresh ground black pepper versus pre-ground black pepper. It's got a lot more of a pepper flavor and it's more spicy. Now, to grind this coffee, you will need some sort of coffee grinder. I got this one at Target for super cheap, and while the grind consistency isn't the best in the world, it will totally get the job done. So most coffee grinders actually have a line that you should not fill past, so I'm just using the lid of my grinder to kind of scoop these beans up, filling it up to that line and just grinding in batches. So I'm putting the lid on here and I'm just going to pulse this a few times and then I'm going to grind this until it reaches the texture of cornmeal, as you can see here. You do want this to be a relatively thicker consistency because we are going to be running this through a coffee filter like you would normal coffee, and we don't want any really small bits getting through our fine mesh sieve, and it's going to result in really good coffee. Now I'm just dumping all of my coffee grounds to a large pitcher, and then I'm going to add 6 cups of cold or room temperature water to this pitcher. You just don't want it to be hot. Now it's just a waiting game from this point. So I'm going to place a lid on my pitcher, throw up a shaka for good luck, and let this sit in the refrigerator for 24 hours. And with the power of magic, 24 hours have gone by, and it is time to strain. I like to use a pot because my fine mesh sieve fits nicely onto this pot and it frees up my hands. So I'm just going to add a coffee filter to my fine mesh sieve, and you really just want to pour this in until it gets near the top of the coffee filter, and you're going to do this multiple times because if you only use one coffee filter, it will likely get clogged. So as you go, be sure to replace the coffee filter as it runs out, and it will take a minute for this stuff to completely drain, but just turn on some TV, play some video games while this is doing its thing, and it will be worth it in the end. Once all of your coffee has been filtered out, we can go ahead and place it into another pitcher where we can serve it out of. So I did have about 5 or 6 little chunks of coffee grounds that made their way through, and I'm just going to filter it through the sieve, and there, it's all out. You can go ahead and just pour this straight into your pitcher. Now, let me pour you a glass of cold brew coffee. Alright everybody, I have finished making this cold brew coffee here. I don't have any sugar in it, anything like that that's going to make the flavor any different, just coffee and milk. So let's give it a quick taste test. That is super smooth. Okay, so right off the bat, I do notice that it feels a lot softer. So for example, like the coffee that I normally drink just comes straight out of a can. It's pre-ground, and it definitely has a lot more acidity than this. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly how I described it. It's got a lot less acidity, but obviously these coffee beans are a lot more higher quality than what I normally drink. So definitely better flavor from that. It's just all around a nicer coffee in general. So yeah, it's a very smooth coffee. It's got all the coffee flavors, but it doesn't leave that really acidic mouthfeel and taste that you get from just normal traditional hot coffee. So go ahead and give this a try, guys. It's definitely worth it. It is obviously going to be more work, but if you're stuck inside one day with nothing to do, I would highly recommend making this cold brew coffee. With that being said, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please drop a like on it. A lot of time and effort went into making this video, and you support the channel every single time you hit the like button. Leave a comment, and if you subscribe, that's going to help me grow my channel. So I appreciate all of that. We've grown a lot recently in the last month, actually. It's starting to ramp up a little bit. So we're almost at 100 subscribers. So if you want to be a part of getting my channel to that point, I will be doing some sort of giveaway once we get there, but there will be more information about that. Probably next week is when we'll hit that mark. But until then, guys, I will see you on the next one.